I often get asked what my favourite station is, and to be honest, I find it impossible to pick one. But Surbiton here would certainly be near the top of my list. It's a gorgeous piece of Art Deco straight out of the 30s. You might be familiar with it even if you've never been there. It showed up in an episode of Poirot. It showed up in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. It even showed up in Thomas the Tank Engine. But this station has its own story to tell. So the first thing you need to know about Surbiton Station is that it wasn't really supposed to exist. The station was built by the London and Southampton Railway. In the 1830s, when the line was being planned, there wasn't really anything at Surbiton. Stagecoaches passed through, there were a few farms and cottages, but it was basically a hamlet. The best thing about it, from a railway point of view, was that it was near Kingston. Not just any Kingston, but Kingston upon Thames. Kingston was an attractive destination for a railway company. It was an ancient market town. It was decently sized, but with scope for development. It was on the river, the perfect commuter town. The problem was that the local authority didn't want a railway. Actually, this happened quite a lot in those early days. The Liverpool and Manchester, the first mainline railway in the world, quiet in the comments section, had only opened in 1830. A lot of towns saw the railways as something to be resisted, often to their detriment in the long run. That wasn't the only potential problem, though. After all, people's minds can be changed, especially when money is involved. No, the other big problem was, what if another company managed to talk the Kingston Corporation around? What if the London and Southampton ended up with a rival company encroaching on their turf? So the railway came up with a radical solution. If they couldn't take their railway to Kingston, could they bring Kingston to their railway? Yes, as was so often the case with these wily railway builders. They were going to cheat. They were going to build a station at Surbiton instead, and they were going to call it Kingston upon Railway, even though it was half a mile from Kingston proper. The station opened in 1838 and was moved to its present location in the 1840s. By this time, the London and Southampton Railway had become the London and South Western Railway. And the gamble paid off. Granted, they weren't fooling anyone with the name, but Surbiton grew into a major commuter suburb in its own right, as it remains today. People call it Surbiton for a reason. Over the years, the station underwent a few name changes. The name Kingston upon Railway appears to have been fairly quickly dropped in favour of Kingston. Actually, there is some debate over whether it was ever called Kingston upon Railway after opening. It became Kingston Junction in 1852, reflecting the opening of the Hampton Court branch line 3 years earlier. In 1863, the LSWR finally got their station in Kingston proper, albeit on a rather inadequate branch line, and Kingston Junction became Surbiton and Kingston. And in 1867, acknowledging Surbiton's importance as a town in its own right, the station became simply Surbiton. In 1916, the LSWR electrified the line through Surbiton. They had been losing commuter traffic to the trams, which were, of course, electric. Herbert Walker, the general manager, thought the LSWR could claw passengers back with an electrification program of their own. And by gad, he was right. This phenomenon, where a line could attract passengers by having clean, fast electric trains, was known as the Sparks effect. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about it before. In 1923, the LSWR became part of the Southern Railway. The Southern inherited the largest network of electric railways in the country, and you can bet that was something they were going to advertise. Modernity was a central part of their advertising strategy, nay, their entire public image. So when it came to rebuilding Surbiton in the 30s, you can bet they were going Art Deco all the way. The new station was designed by James Robb Scott and completed in 1937. Scott's most famous work must surely be the grand entrance to Waterloo Station, and compare that to the ultra-modern Surbiton and you have to admit the guy had range. Surbiton was built in concrete, this being a favourite material of the Southern Railway, and painted white to emphasise the cleanliness of electric traction. It's far from the only Art Deco station they built, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it might be their best. The station is now Grade 2 listed, a measure of its architectural importance, and it is a major local landmark. From a failed attempt at getting to Kingston to a key work of the Art Deco movement, it's come a long way, baby. Hello all, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, then I would be most grateful if you'd click the like button down there, and even more so if you'd consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon to be kept up to date with my videos. Apologies for the quality of my voice in this video, and also for a little bit of weird clicking you can hear at some point. That's actually coming from inside my throat. At the time of recording this, I was recovering from the sickness. As regular viewers can probably guess, I'm something of a fan of Art Deco architecture, but do you think there are other stations in the style worth covering? Of course, the London Underground has lots, and the Chessington branch will almost certainly get a video at some point, but I'm sure you folks can think of plenty of others. As always, I'd like to thank my supporters over on Ko-fi and Patreon, link in the description below, for their support. You are the Taunton Concrete Works to my Southern Railway. And I'll see you all again very soon. Cheerio.